I'm doing game review here today of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I should put a thing on Instagram saying how I really was resisting the urge to do a rant on this game. It was like right before I had beaten it. I was in the last fight. So I'm going to rant a little during this. It was funny, I got a lot of replies from that. Story Berry's like, yeah, do it. I was like, I'm going to review it, and I'll do my ranting on the parts that were annoying as shit. Overall, I do not hate this game. I thought it was a pretty decent game. A lot of cool parts. Some frustrating stuff in there as well. And this game's buggy. But I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Briefly, the story. He plays Cal Kestis here. The funny thing is, I played this when I first got it for a little bit, and then I got to Bogano, or whatever that planet's called, and then I didn't touch it for a while. So I can't necessarily remember a lot of that, but you're like doing salvage. You have another buddy there, you're doing salvage on this thing. And I guess the Inquisitors come, and they kind of found out you're a Jedi, and they try to fight you. You fight the one, I think it's the second sister, you fight her throughout. Her name's Trilla. I'll talk about her as well. She's got a backstory related to one of the characters you meet with in the game. Eventually you get off of the planet, though. I forget how, but you end up on the Mantis ship here, and you end up with Ser and Greasy. That's the Inquisitor. There's like parts in there I forget, but I know I'm pretty sure the first planet you go to after that beginning action is Bogano, and you start seeing like memories or whatever of this other Jedi, Cordova, I think his name is, and he was like looking for stuff. Like this ancient race, I guess, was doing this stuff, and he was looking for things, and that's what has you kind of planet hopping. And you're looking for the holocron. This holocron that has like the names of all the Force-sensitive kids that are around, right? Still. But you're following him, and you're going from planet to planet. There will be spoilers here as well. This is kind of an old game, right? 2019. Now, the funny thing is, this is enhanced for the Xbox One X, not the Series X. This came out before those systems came out, before the PS5 and the Series X came out. So you're going there, and you gotta do stuff, and you can wall run in this game. There's how many planets? There's Bogano, Kashyyyk, Dathomir, Ilum, I think it's called Ilum, and Zevo, and then there's the Inquisitor base. They show that scene. I guess they got it. I don't know, is this the first place where the Inquisitor base appears? I'm not familiar with a lot of the stuff. Maybe it appeared in the Clone Wars show. Probably there, right? I don't know. But you go there. They showed that in Obi-Wan show, I believe it too. But you're following like this guy's stuff. This guy, I think it's Cordova or something like that. And you find out backstory about Sarah. She was also a Jedi, and this was her apprentice, Trilla. And you find out backstory there as well. There's a lot of different enemies to fight in this game. The variety's good. I mean, you fight the Empire, so you get stormtroopers, you get purge troopers in there, all types of, scout trooper. One guy's got a flamethrower. One stormtrooper's got a flamethrower. It's like a purge trooper, and then there's other ones as well. That one guy uses an axe. They all have names I forget. Or you also come across BD-1. This was the other Jedi's little robot, and now he's with you. He does stuff as well, obviously. He can scan things throughout the environment. He'll scan enemies too after you kill them. Like I said, that first planet, you can end up bouncing. Like, you can go, once you unlock all the planets, you can go to them as you please and find hidden stuff, because this is like a Zelda type thing, right? You unlock new powers, because he's forgotten pretty much all of his stuff, and he'll have flashbacks to when he was with his Jedi Master, and they get into Order 66, obviously, and you get flashbacks of that when he was young, and that happened and stuff. And he's like feels guilty about how his master died. He could have did more, and there's like an inner battle he has where he finally comes to grips with everything and stuff. But you learn stuff. The first thing I think you learn the wall run. I don't know if you learn it or you know it, because like I said, I played the beginning of it early on, and then I hopped back into it, a few weeks ago. But you end up doing force pull, force push, force slow. You can eventually double jump as well, so you can go back to these other places and find hidden things. Because there's chests you can find, and BD1 also upgrades as well, so he can start doing extra things. Like he can splice into chests you can't get into at first. He can overcharge things, stuff like that. And in these chests you can find lightsaber types and stuff, and different outfits for BD1, the Mantis ship, or for Cal himself, different colors and like paint jobs or whatever you want to call them, and like ponchos he has and shit. And he can also sense force echo stuff, so this is like a thing that's apparently rare, he says. So eventually he comes across things and he sees the memory of it. That also gives you experience, because you level up your experience, and this you get skill points that you can use. You have a skill tree that has different things you can do, lightsaber stuff, survival type stuff, and something, other things. You can upgrade your health through there, your force, different moves and stuff like that. And eventually you get the double lightsaber as well, which I think was Cordova's, or maybe it was your master's one, I forget. And eventually you can switch between different, that comes later in the game, you can switch between different, you can use one, you can use either, actually you can use two, because he does a thing where he fixes it, because he has to get his own Kyber crystal. Because I guess he lost his original lightsaber during the Order 66 thing. You can use double, you can switch back and forth, whatever. So you can level up. In this game, I did the full, I leveled up everything. Certain enemies give you more experience. In this place, like I guess the Dark Souls games, Demon Souls type stuff, Bloodborne, where if you get killed, there's meditation points throughout each world, and that's where you save there, and you could rest, and then you get your stim packs back. That gives you health. BD1 shoots them out. Eventually, you can find chests that upgrade those. I got the full 10, and I needed them. What the hell was I just saying? Oh my god. But you can upgrade. Oh yeah. Oh, what was I gonna say? Oh my god. I was talking about finding the stim packs, and you can also, like I said, you also do another zip line thing with BD1 as well, but you can go up the zip line instead of just down it, which there's a lot of hidden areas in these games, and you could use your force powers to bust open doors, pull things towards you, slow things down so you can jump across them, stuff like that. You can slow down the enemies with it. You can throw the enemies, you can pull them towards you and stab them real quick. But you hop from planet to planet, and the story progresses. You meet another person on Dathomir who's part of your party. She's a Night Sister, Marin, I believe her name is. These people, I guess, used magic, and there was a Jedi that went there after the Purge and kind of fell into the dark side and was like feeding off the planet. You fight him. Oh, that's what I was saying. Duh. It's like those Dark Souls games where when you rest, the enemies will respawn, like it was a Nintendo game, an original Nintendo game. But whoever kills you has your experience, you lose it. But if you hit them, you get it back. If you die twice without getting it back, or after... No, if you die twice, if you die again before getting it back, that original experience, I'm pretty sure it's just gone forever. I only ran into that problem a few times. I died a ton in this game, don't get me wrong, but not really consecutively unless it was a boss fight. And you're fighting, AT. Is that the AT, ST, and the big one's the AT. There's one actually a cool mission on Keshi where you board one. You're like swimming in the water and you climb up one, and then you're using that for a little bit. That was fun. You do a lot of sliding down shit in this game, and then launching and having to use your force power to slow something down to hop through it. It's very, very timing based. Now, admittedly, I only played a little Demon Souls, and it's not a kind of, and another one was Lords of the Fallen, took from that style as well, from Demon Souls, Dark Souls. I'm not necessarily that good at these kind of games. This one I was kind of fine at. Some of the boss battles are ridiculous. Like I said, I'm going to rant about this stuff in a few minutes. It's a really nice looking game. Like, the environments, like, even when you go back to planets, you just look at the huge vistas and stuff, and it looks nice. All the character models are nice. Voice acting's all solid. There's a good variation of enemies. There's also, like, creatures on the worlds. There's, like, weird, one looks like a toad, a spider type thing. Trolls. I think they're literally just called trolls. And a bunch of other ones. These, like, flying things as well. On Kashyyyk, there's a ton of weird shit. Some of the vegetation will try to kill you, too. There's one, like, a slug thing with horns. There's another, like, kind of just deer type thing. Like I said, there's actually a huge variation of enemies in this game. Like I said, some boss fights. You fight, I think, the Ninth Sister at one point. You fight that guy, I forget his name, was Talos or something, that one Jedi. You fight the second sister throughout occasionally until the end. Like I said, graphically it looks nice. The animations are nice and stuff. Now, some of the problems here are, this game is buggy as hell. Oh my god. There was a point where I was falling through the environment like 4 or 5 times in a 10-minute span. Most times, eventually, it just completely has you drop and you get out of it. One time, I think I mentioned this in the peanut butter eating video, the peanut butter sandwich eating video, is the fall dropped me somewhere, and it was just darkness around me and some like silhouettes of building type things. And I couldn't get out of it. I had to restart. I didn't lose much progress or anything, but it was annoying. I had to go to the main menu and come back out. But I was falling through the environment a ton in this game, and sometimes it was a little too consistent. Sometimes the game loads in very slow. The load times are actually brutal in this game. I was getting pissed when I would die a lot in boss fights because I was more pissed about the load time. Not the fact that I had died, the fact that I had now wait for this thing to load for like 30 seconds, a minute and a half, whatever it was, and it was actually probably like more like a minute, 2-minute load times, sometimes even longer. That was frustrating because you're getting killed and you're getting annoyed, but eventually you figure out the patterns, right? Like I said, I'm not that great in this game, so a big part of that's me. I don't play these games a lot, so I try to bull my way through, and I can't do it. I have to learn the patterns and stuff. And certain enemies will, actually I think all enemies will glow red when they're going to do an unstoppable attack. Now when it comes to combat, you can block, you can dodge, you can use your force powers to do stuff. You can deflect the blaster shots and stuff like that. And it works well. The combat's nice. You upgrade moves as well when you use skill points. So you can do jumping slashes. You can throw your lightsaber eventually. Eventually get like an unstoppable attack, which I'll talk about in a minute, which was a little annoying, but the way it works sometimes. And other kinds of moves you can do as well. You can kick people and stuff like that. The combat's pretty fun. Sometimes you'll get attacked by too many enemies and they'll just take you out. And when you power up towards the end, you can take out the basic enemies much easier. I'm going to get into that in a second too, though. Very buggy. And sometimes, and a person, one of the people messaged me, was like, yeah, sometimes the controls didn't work. It actually felt like that sometimes. Like you'd hit the buttons and it was not registering quick enough. Or trying to swing the camera while you're in a boss fight and missing your special move. Because it kind of was like, I don't feel like hitting it this time. Or I throw the lightsaber. This happened in the fight on Dathomir against the Talios or whatever his name was. I literally threw it through his body and it didn't take any energy off because it didn't want to. And here's an annoying thing, like I said, when you have to kill the enemy that took your experience, they're glowing gold. Regular enemies, it doesn't matter really. But the last, and this happened in another few boss fights, but the last boss fight in particular, she's glowing gold. I'm hitting you. Eventually, sometimes when you hit her, it doesn't give you the experience back immediately. You have to continuously hit her. It's weird. but you can't, when she's glowing gold, you can't see her glowing red to do her special move. So I don't know what's coming and I get crushed by it. And man, the end boss fight, this is where the rant's gonna come in. I'm kind of like blowing into the rant now. This is where games like this, and this is not just a thing for this game, I've busted my ass, right? It's kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. He's weak at first, he hasn't used his force abilities well, but then eventually he gets back to what he was and he kicks ass. Same thing with this, he gets back to what he is. But Trill is even harder and she's kicking the shit out of me. Not the fact that she's kicked the shit out of me already a few times throughout the game. She has like 60 attacks in a row that I can't even block. My special move, she'll just push through like it was nothing. Unless I do like the proper, to time it perfectly. And she has a probe droid shooting at me at points too. Like really, you need that too. I want a game, and this has probably been done. I'm leveled up now. I'm going to show a big spoiler here. You probably know anyway. Most of you probably played it if you want to already. But I've now busted my... I thought the Inquisitors couldn't use a ton of force powers, like, based on things. I guess I was wrong, but it's like, I'm already leveled up now. I've got all my force powers back. I'm kicking ass. I should be able to slaughter her in the last fight. This is how the game, in my opinion, should have went. I should have at least overpowered her quickly enough. And then, of course, Vader comes in, and he's kicking the shit out of you. You barely even fight him. It's pretty much just you getting your ass kicked. And Sarah comes in. She gets her ass kicked. Eventually, you have to, like, BD1's got to help you to kind of mess him up a little bit. But you don't do anything of real note to him. You have to escape, pretty much. That's how it should have went. I hate in games when you're not rewarded powerfully. And, like, I should be just kicking her ass, and it should be like, oh, she should be like, holy shit, now he's powered up, you know, but instead you get the shit kicked out of you 50 times. I was on the Jedi Master difficulty, I believe. And playing part, like, I'm not good at these games. Problem is, she switches up the attacks like crazy, too. Like, if you're kicking the shit out of her early, she switches it up. And then the stupid probe droid, there's like, she throws her lightsaber at you while the probe droid's shooting at you. I can't block both. Or she does this move where she jumps and a huge wave comes and you gotta jump over it. I'm trying to jump over that. Instead, the probe droid hits me and knocks me into the thing, the wave. I was getting pissed, man. And some of the difficulties, fine. At this boss fight, for some reason, it's like ridiculous. It's like, she can bust through my special moves, but I can't even bust through one of her regular attacks with a special move most of the time. I gotta block her a bunch of times. It's ridiculous. I was getting so pissed, man. And going back to the comment I got with the buttons not working, sometimes I do my special move. I'm aimed at her, but the camera angle's so bad that I'm like going this way. Sometimes it feels like it's just forcing you to go the opposite way. Really annoying. And some of the, I always go back to the Prince of Persia when they made the one for the original Xbox, PS2, and GameCube. I'm not talking about all the way back in the day. But when you wall ran in that game and stuff, it flowed. You do the wall running and stuff, it does not flow nearly as well in this game. Okay? You know, there are parts where you're trying to slow something down, where you're going down an ice thing, and you don't slow it down the perfect spot. The spots where you jump, you go flying. You go flying off this way, you gotta like, it's just... There's also glorified load times where you're like shimmying through something for like 30 seconds. Which is pretty much, I would assume, just loading stuff. I don't know what the point of doing that so much is. You do fight some souped up creatures. I got the achievement for that. You gotta beat 4 of them. Like I said, there's the security droids. There's all types of different enemies to fight in this game. And you use your force powers to, like, slow things down, jump across, do stuff like that. But to pull vines near you so you can swing to other places and stuff like that. Forrest Whitaker's character from... Was he in Rogue One? He pops up. He voices him, actually, but he didn't do the mo capture. He pops up briefly on Kashyyyk when you're helping out the Wookiees. There was another... what was it? There was another glitch too, and like I said, some of the environment takes a while to load in, so it's like all smooth, you don't see any textures, and sometimes it takes a really long time for this shit to load in. And it will have, this happens in a lot of games. I'll have the classic, you're about to do a jump, and then mid-jump it loads briefly, and then all of a sudden you're like falling there's some cool story beats in this, especially because you're learning more about like the clones and stuff like that. And you go through an old clone ship on Zevo, which was kind of a cool area. You got an achievement for that, for exploring the ship. The ventilator or whatever it's called. The venator. That was fun. Like I said, there's a lot of fun in here. The exploration is nice. I did not like the map system as well in this game. Because this game's like weird. There's a lot of jumping and wall running. It's not like a lot of straightforward running. You're usually jumping or wall running along something fairly quickly in this game. And I was not a huge... There was, unless I'm wrong, and doesn't tell me if I am, but there's no, like, you can't travel to meditation points, fast travel to... You have to, like, run all over the place. Not that these areas are that huge, but they're very weirdly leveled as well and stuff. And I did not like the map system in this game. Like, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I get to here? This, like, that was kind of frustrating as well. But there was a lot to enjoy about this game. Like I said, it looks great. The combat is fun. Most of the boss fights were fun. Like deflecting, look, it never gets old in these Star Wars games when you're deflecting blaster bolts back at people and stuff. But some of the combat, it wasn't the difficulty, like a strong difficulty. It was that cheesy, like, oh, I'm just going to bust through your special move. What's the point of me getting it? Why should I level up to a special move? I should just be dominating you with this thing. And most of the enemies can, but not this Trella. I thought Inquisitors were... I thought like a fully powered Jedi is going to bust through an Inquisitor like nobody's business. She does get killed. Vader eventually just comes in and kills her. And it's kind of cool because he's like, that's not good. And he's like, and she's like, no, it is. And Sarah's like, no, it is. And you find out. Because they don't really know who he is. Cal definitely doesn't. Sarah kind of does. Oh, yeah, and the Dathomir, the Night Sisters have like magic powers. And it's like the Night Brothers are like these Darth Maul-looking dudes. And the Night Sisters all died, so like their zombies are running around after you. The planets all were nice. Like I said, it's a nice looking game. Like you know, just you get off the Mandas and you just look around and you're like, damn, it looks nice. And when you start moving a lot, it starts to like, I don't know if this is a game that's better played on the newer consoles or even like the Xbox One, X or whatever. Or maybe it's an Xbox PS4 thing or whatever. It runs better on there. I don't know. Because I've heard other people talk about how it's a buggy game. There's a few other ones too. I'm trying to think. There was something with like closing doors too that was giving me an issue as well. You can also swim at one point too. You get a thing where you can swim and then you can find more chests. And it keeps track of this stuff. And oh yeah, when you get the Force essences, certain ones will give you max life if you get 3, or max force if you get 3. The rest just give you like backstory. And it's kind of cool backstory on the characters that have died or whatever. So that was kind of fun. Like I said, there was cool stuff to be had, but man, the bugginess of the game and some of the frustrating, cheesy combat stuff was really annoying. And the map system I wasn't a huge fan of either. If I was scoring this, and I obviously am because I'm reviewing it, I would probably go about a 7 on this game, and that might be it being a little generous. But there's a lot to like about this game, but I don't know what it is with EA's games, and some of them just coming out full of problems. But I got, I forget when I originally got this, maybe last year. No, it was probably 21 when I got it. I keep forgetting it's 23. Oh, after you beat the game, you could also unlock some Mandalorian combat training and obviously new game plus type stuff. And like I said, with these kind of games, I love them or I enjoy them. Any of this extra media with related to Star Wars, like watching the shows, but it really takes away from the mystique of like the original stuff and what was supposed to like mean. Also, it gets watered down, you know. But this is still good. I hope they fix the performance issues in the Jedi Survivor game that comes out like in a month. I mean, I'm not going to be playing that anyway anytime soon until I get a new system, but everything was there graphically, you know. The story was decent, whatever, you know. But Cheryl has a change of heart at the end. After she's been beaten by you, after I've gotten my ass kicked by her 50 times. I'm like flipping out. I'm like, dude, like, that's why I was in that fight. If you responded to my story on Instagram, I was in that fight. And I'm like, I gotta like vent somehow. This is pissing me off, so I just put that on Instagram. It was, you know what that fight was? It was more, I beat it and I was like, fuck you. That's what I do when I get pissed at games and I complete a certain thing. It's more not like, I'm like, yes, I earned it. I'm more like, fuck you, game, you know? Like I said, I bet 7. I'd probably go 7. Now that's a good score. You know, 6-5, 6-8. We're gonna say a 6-8. Fuck it. I'm gonna say a 6-8, which is still a fair score. It's not a bad game. It just has problems. It's buggy. It's extremely glitchy and buggy. Like I said, maybe if you played it on a newer system, it performs better. But I'm playing on the Xbox One. You'd expect it to still perform well. But considering it was made for, it was made for that. I mean, maybe if you had a PS4 Pro or Xbox One X at that time, you'd feel that it performed better. I don't know. But yeah, the things I liked graphically looked nice. The combat was fun most of the time. Some of the environmental wall running and swinging to stuff and double jumping, what have you, didn't flow like a Prince of Persia. Now, not many do flow like a Prince of Persia, and that's crazy because that game came out so long ago that it's just weird that they can't do that kind of like parkour type stuff as well as that game did. And that one that Sands of Time on the Xbox, PS2, and GameCube came out in what, like 03 or 02. Map could have been better as well. Combat was still fun. It was nice upgrading stuff, you know. It's cool unlocking new moves because you get more powerful against the regular enemies. But all of a sudden, this Inquisitor just has been kicking my ass the whole time. You'd think as I progressively got stronger in the Force and combat, I would eventually be better than her and kind of dominate that fight. Now, of course, you want the challenge, but no, I earned it by busting my ass this whole game. I want to dominate this boss fight, and then, especially in this kind of game, because I know Vader's coming in. Let me dominate this fight. Vader comes in, beats the shit out of me like he does, and you move into endgame. But anyway, I'm going to say a 6-8. Maybe a 7. It's not a bad game, but it's better than average, obviously, but I don't know. There's issues with it. There's stuff to like though as well. I probably missed some stuff here as well because I wanted to rant a little bit, but anyway. It's just a review of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And, thanks for checking this out.